Oh, wait. There we go. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Three Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. Working on some tech issues behind the scenes. So if you experienced a little bit of that, don't worry about it. It's normal. That's what happens when we do this. I'm your host this week, Jim Root. I'm joined by Matthew Cox, Kai McEwen. Matt is down in lovely Florida. Kai and I are in Chicago. And not as bad of weather as you might think there. We're handling it.
Yeah.
Got another wonderful show here coming today. Your usual segments. But Kai, before I really get the intro going, how are you feeling? How are you doing on this fine Wednesday?
Oh, Jim, I'm doing well. Wednesdays, busy. Yes. We're doing good, Jim. I'm reading about the XFL. Matt, I'm trying to broaden my horizons. I'm still a college basketball guy at heart. And I'm excited to talk about college basketball.
Yeah, someday we'll broaden this podcast as folks, but for today we remain college basketball centric. But Kai, I'd love to hear your XFL takes at some point throughout this episode or episodes to come in the future, specifically if they apply to our St. Louis Battlehawks, the current favorite in the betting market. Go Hawks. Caw-caw.
Wow. Dial in. Look at you. You two getting back into football. It's so inspiring. Join me in my Packers
It's a football
world.
town, Jim. It's a football town. Everyone knows it.
Yeah. They're starved for another team in St. Louis. That's what the Battlehawks are for. But we're not talking XFL. We are talking college hoops. We've got our normal Roots Roundup coming. Got Weave Saw That, three-man thoughts, little weekend preview, your standard three-man Weave show. Excited to get into it. But before we do, shout out to Jay Pitty, our guy for the tunes. Started off Joe Paskov. Follow us on Twitter at 3MW_CBB. Also on Instagram, Matt gave a little bit of content into the desert.
Guys, what the hell happened with my story? What the hell happened with that? Like I looked at it the day after. Our service was horrible at the moment or in the moment in the stadium. No, I had some really good footage that it just did not post as I hoped. So when I post an actual post, a non-story, as I call them, tomorrow, you'll see those reflected. But yeah, shouts to Dusty May, big FAU guy all the way in. I bought a shirt that says winning in paradise. That's like kind of their motto. I'll be adorning that in Vegas when they play opening round, knock on wood. Don't lose down the stretch. Don't lose down the stretch, Dusty.
Love it. Love it, Matthew. Getting the Weave boys on board with the Owls. Hoot, hoot. We are Owl boys. Subscribe to the pod on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. We appreciate that. And of course, we love reviews, preferably of the 5-star variety. Hopefully we've delivered that 5-star experience to you, but we will take honest criticism as it comes. Kai, we got a couple reviews here. Excited to get to those.
Gmart244 says, excellent podcast. If you love college hoops like myself, this is the pod for you. These guys are amazing. Quick question though. Why isn't Jai Lucas getting more looks for the Texas job? Is it mostly because he coached under Shaka and that ship has sailed? Well, Jim, I don't know. I don't know why he's not getting more looks. It's a big job. They're not going to hire a coach with no head coaching experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they want a splash hire. That's kind of a big deal for them. We'll see where they end up going with it. And I don't know if Lucas, if you're going to go with a guy that doesn't have the coaching experience, it's probably going to be Royal Ivy, right? Like he got the pitch from Kevin Durant. He's on an NBA staff. I think that's kind of the potential guy off the radar there. I don't know. Do you really want Jai Lucas when you look at what Kenny Payne's doing at Louisville? I wouldn't.
No,
I would want somebody much more established. So maybe that's part of it.
Yes, agree.
Yeah, feel bad for Texas. I was just texting with our guy Nikki Engel about this. Hired Chris Beard, like objectively a good coach, and hired Shaka Smart, objectively a good coach, but hired them at like absolutely terrible times, just like the worst times in their basketball coaching career.
Well, Shaka was doing fine.
I mean, I think Shockey, you look back at like all of his stops, Texas was probably his relatively worst performance relative to expectations.
Yeah, right? But when they hired him, he was doing really well. When they hired him, top of the world.
And they got not great Shaka. They got just okay Shaka. And you got Chris Beard, the woman abuser, I guess. So yeah, it's just yeah, whatever. Anyway, so it's just kind of tough there.
They've had bad luck with their last
bad luck. That's my point. That's what I'm saying. Thank you. Yes, bad luck.
Yes. Next review, Donnie Juice. This is a really nice review. We appreciate this. He says it's almost March, which means much of the sports world is close to turning to college hoops. Meanwhile, the Weave, that's us, has been grinding over the Big South Tuesday night slate for months. I feel bad for not having reviewed sooner. 3MW have put the work in for years to achieve the success they've earned and are still on the ascent. I appreciate how they interact with their fans and have thick enough skin to handle the trolls, rooting for their success and want good things to continue to come for these good people. Wow. Really nice review from Donnie Juice. Thank you so much.
I'd like to shake Donnie Juice's hand. That warmed my heart.
Double
made
handshake.
Made me feel good. Good man.
Mm-hmm.
Much respect, much appreciation. Personal corner, Matt is still in Florida, but he is returning to the Chi soon, only for a brief cameo. Matthew, you're too good for the Midwest these days.
Way too good. 1 week and I'm back out west. Just got some tough news from the UCLA media department. I only got credentialed for one spot. It's not even confirmed yet. So teaser, I will be in Los Angeles.
You only got one credential for the
No, it's not even confirmed yet. It's not even confirmed yet. I was hoping to get
basically for the Pac-12 title. I'm sorry, buddy.
So hoping I can catch a nondescript midweek game. Maybe catch the Eaters, UC Irvine. Maybe catch LMU. I think it's pretty close. Maybe catch Long Beach, not so far away. A lot of options out there.
Yeah, a lot of options.
Did you tell him that the second one was for your videographer, or what? Why did you? What was
said
your
for Mitchell Cox, my brother, who helps with a lot of behind the scenes work, editing, production, etc. No, the guy was cool about it. Right. I was trying to sort of pull some strings and whatever.
Yeah,
so
I respect it. I respect it.
Respect.
And hey, welcome to football fans. We will be giving a little bit of a light on the sport in 3-Man Thoughts. Matt has a wonderful thought about welcoming you with welcome and open arms to college basketball. We're excited to have more eyes on it as we get into conference tournaments, March Madness, etc. It is time for college hoops to take over. It is also time to get into Roots Roundup. That's right. We're talking Roots Roundup news and notes, but Kai, it is sponsored by our friends at Home Field.
Home Field Apparel, they make premium collegiate apparel for schools of all sizes, from Power 5 to D3, digging through years of archives to understand each school's fan base and making thoughtful designs to put on a t-shirt. It doesn't just say school name, though they do have those designs as well. They're very cool. They're soft. They're comfy. They're stylish. I own several Home Field apparel items. Jim does as well. Matthews, his collection's growing. It's growing. As an Indiana alum, he has plenty of options at that site, as do most school fans. They have like 100 schools on their website. They rock. They're at Home Field Apparel on Twitter. APPARL is how you spell apparel on their Twitter handle. Their website is homefieldapparel.com. And if you go there and you shop and you check out for the first time, you can use our promo code 3MW at checkout to get 15% off. Home Field, wear one for the team.
Do it. Use that promo code. You get the discount. Why not? Of course, it's there. It's there for you. Yep, Kai, definitely excited to add more to the collection and looking forward to Home Field adding more schools to the collection. All right, news and notes. A lot to get to. We're going to start somber note here. Michigan State has canceled all campus activities, athletic activities this week within 48 hours of the shooting on campus. Just horrific. I saw Greg Waddell of Sleepers Media put out a video the day after. A guy that's very connected to Michigan State. He went there. Really kind of just condemning what's happening here. I would echo all of his words with that. Thoughts and prayers are to the Michigan State community as they deal with that. It is really just horrific. So Michigan State, we're thinking of you. All right. Also to mention here, New Mexico State, we can go in so many different directions with this program right now. The team has called off the rest of its season, suspended indefinitely. They have canned Greg Heyer, the coach. The rest of the staff is currently suspended with pay, which seems fine and nice to them. Lucky. But man, what a total disastrous hire here. No pun intended. That's going to happen a lot as we discuss Greg Heyer here. Horrific. I mean, you go all the way back to the beginning, even before the year started, his team gets in a brawl at the football game. And then you have the guy sneaking out after curfew and ending up in a shooting and killing a student at New Mexico, potentially obstructing that investigation by hiding the weapon and driving guys away from it. And then you get to this hazing incident, and that's what really ended his complete tenure. He's gone, didn't even make it a season. Matthew, what do you do if you're New Mexico State now? I mean, are you just kind of like, all right, we got to turn the page and we'll take whatever sanctions come our way? I guess that's the only option.
You hire Kim Anderson, the program cleaner up there. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Sorry, had to do it, fellas. Had to do it. But you do have to, I think, go very, very clean. I mean, New Mexico State, let's just call it what it is, right? It's always been a school that's been known for its fairly loose admission standards
Yes.
And I think that's been kind of part of the, those in that conference, New Mexico rivals would quickly tell you that. But yeah, when you go from that to what we saw the last 6 months, I mean, there's a fine line between the two. So I think they're unfortunately going to have to really target a hire that's going to be, all the way buttoned up. And I would guess probably comes at the expense of winning in the near term. Sorry, just you look at the data, some slight inverse correlation between there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they need to go super, super clean. You're not going to get a splash hire for sure. And I said this on Twitter, and of course I got pushed back because everyone is a genius. I mean, you can throw out all the mid-major, low-major names you want. It doesn't mean New Mexico State's looking at those guys, your obscure low-major, mid-major coach with a good year this season. I got Brian Baroni thrown at me on Twitter. Are you effing kidding me? No, they're not going to hire Brian Baroni from SIUE.
I like Brian Baroni, by the way. I'm in on that hire.
He's fine. He's had one good year, and it's this season. They're going to hire an assistant probably somewhere or a JUCO guy, and kind of what they do with Greg Hire. And he's going to have a tough time building the program back up. There's probably some sanctions, Jim. But as Matt said, it's not hard to get good players into New Mexico State. It's not a high academic standard school, and that's why they've had so much success with these retreads in the transfer portal. It's true.
They also always seem to have 16 scholarship players somehow. I don't really get it. They've somehow circumvented those rules. I think there is some creative scholarship handing out that works for them. And hey, they've figured it out and it works. Congratulations. We will see. This has been the powerhouse in the WAC for years and years. And they took a major tumble this year on the court. And of course, now off the court too. So there's a power void, a power vacancy at the top. Plenty of teams competing to fill it. New Mexico State, it's going to be a long road back. Mm-hmm. Other coaching news to get to. Matthew, your king rat attended a Duke game. Coach K was in the house for Notre Dame versus Duke over the weekend or last night, actually. What happened? I thought he wasn't going to attend games. Give me an explanation.
I'm just mad I didn't bet the farm on Notre Dame. Duke was laying, 13 or 14 points. We talked about how Coach K, I believe Coach K told John Shire before the game, hey, Bray is one of ours, part of the brotherhood. Keep it competitive. Don't embarrass them. And sure enough, Duke kind of, diddle-daddled around and got the win, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, I guess great to see Coach K back up close and personal, watching his hand-picked successor kind of dilly-daddle around this year. So yeah, it's a nothing story for me. Sorry, guys.
No,
it's obviously a story. I just was like, y'all. It is a story.
Do you claim Bray as a brotherhood member? He didn't go to Duke.
It's a loose affiliation. I agree with that, but he is in the binary classification of one of ours versus not one of ours. Yes, he's a devil. He's a brotherhood member.
If Mike Schrage got another job, would you be like, yeah, Duke guy? He was our
I don't know
basketball operations guy for a year,
right? Because I think Bray was only there for what? Let's see, look that up.
8 years.
He was there for 8 years. Okay, yes, that's a long time. That's a long time.
Yeah, what's the cutoff?
Schraggy's got 7 to go. So maybe
once he's there for 8. All right.
You like a little pen. It says brotherhood member. We will not run up the score on you no matter where you play or coach in the future.
Yes.
It's definitely not because Duke isn't good. That's why it's definitely not why they didn't blow that game out for sure.
Nope.
Speaking of Mike Bray, he is not done. Apparently, reportedly, Mr. Goodman all over this news. He is stepping down at Notre Dame at the end of the year, but he is not retiring from coaching. A lot of rumors getting thrown out there. Kai, the most notable one is Georgetown. Could he be the new boss at the Hoyas? We know Patrick Ewing's still employed, but we'll see.
Who would you rather have, Rick Pitino or Mike Bray?
Rick Pitino for me.
That's what I don't think it's close. I'd rather have Pitino, but
Matt, Rick Pitino, Mike Bray, John Wooden, or John Shire. Who would you rather have?
John Wooden.
Yeah, all right. He got it right this time.
John Wooden now or 74?
Right. He lost his loss.
Meg Ryan now or you get the reference?
What's Billy? What's it from? Kind of, I'm blanking.
Wayne's World.
Thank you.
There it is.
Wait a second.
Yeah. No, it's not Wayne's World.
Billy Madison. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
Billy Madison. Yeah.
Holy
tough
moly.
sequence there.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right. Yeah. Bray to Georgetown would make some sense. Stabilize the program and then find a different direction. That's kind of what the Pitino move would be as well. You're not going to get 10 years out of those guys, I wouldn't think. So we'll see. A lot of choices for Georgetown to make in the offseason. Last one to mention, UT Arlington fired Chris Young. in early February. Really confusing stuff here. Already got to be regretting getting rid of Scott Cross 4 or 5 years ago. He had won 48 games in his last 2 years there. He's responsible for 5 of the 7 21 seasons that the program has had in history.
Yeah.
He was an alum, and somehow he is gone and coaching a conference rival. And they're stuck here in this confused middle ground. Kai, do you remember when their AD said they're going to turn into Gonzaga of the South? Like he said that. That was a quote.
Scott Cross led UT Arlington to its best season in the Kempom era in 2017. The next season, he won 21 games and then got fired. And now he's at Troy. I don't understand the thought process here. I think it's a new AD, to be fair, but still.
It is a new AD.
Ridiculousness. The timing's strange.
New AD's firing a guy in February. He must have a name in mind, right, Matt? You think he's like, you don't make this move unless you're already like, I know where I'm going next.
It's a kind of a tone deaf move, like not understanding the historical, not so far removed from the historical context of that Cross thing, but I kind of get it. New AD, and he's really jockeying to get his guy. I think Greg Young's a good coach, though. I really do. Like, I think this Arlington team is starting to turn around. They had kind of a bad start to this season, but maybe he's trying to actually make like a big time splash hire. So, I just made the whole story or thought last podcast about the grass screen on the other side. So if you have a guy in mind, there's a lot of good options out there. So I'm going to give the new AD some rope here. I'm not going to completely trash him. I will make fun of the program, though, for doing the same thing they did basically to Scott Cross.
Greg Young's a lot worse. Close to his level. Not close.
No, he's not. But I think it's, one of theirs and a Cross assistant. I think he's going to end up being a pretty good coach.
So. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is
really
bizarre.
He is older.
You've got it. You're going to get judged big time for the hire after this. Like if you crash and burn, then we're going to throw a lot of stones. So you better hit a home run here. All right, next up, nothing in recruiting. Happy to see that. Love skipping over that section when we're mid-season. We have a little bit of transfer news. Breon Freeman was dismissed from the Rhode Island squad. One of the big transfer gets for Archie Miller in his first offseason. Seemed like Freeman was going to be the star of that team. Definitely their highest usage guy. Struggled with efficiency a little bit and clearly struggled with his relationship with Archie Miller off the court. Had some suspensions. He is gone, Kai. Big disappointment year one for Archie Miller.
Huge. Yeah. And their 2 biggest transfer gets this offseason were Anthony Harris, who never ended up playing for Rhode Island, and then Breon Freeman, who got kicked off the team. So tough start for Rhode Island and Archie Miller there. I think he'll turn it around, but obviously not this season.
Matt, who'd you rather have going forward, Archie Miller or Frank Martin?
I was just going to say Frank Martin is a good little comparison. I'd take Frank Martin, Jimbo. I do.
Yeah.
Their season this year is more. Their season this year is more, I think, derailed by injuries than it is like discombobulation with the program and coaching. I would give Frank Martin a lot more rope. But I like Archie too. Archie was going to be fine. It's 1 year. He missed on the transfers. I think you reset it next year, get a better crop of transfers, get some new recruits in there. Both programs should be happy with their hires and should be patient with those hires.
Yeah, patience is the key. I think this is also a good note for us with off-season rating stuff is it's not overnight when you make a good coaching hire. It's not always an immediate flip around. I do want to give a shout. I think it was the 3-Bid League pod tweeted something like UMass pretty clearly had the best non-conference portion of the season in the A10, and now they might finish dead last in the worst A10 in 20 years.
It's wild, right?
A10, which the auto bid's trending for like a 13 seed at this point. It's like not even like a top 12 seed at this point. VCU or whoever the hell.
Because none of those teams are at large worthy at all. They're probably all behind Liberty.
VCU
and
get 12, right? I think they'd get a 12.
Maybe. I don't know.
It's a tough ass 13, man. Holy cow. I would pick them to win in the first round.
I would too.
Well, the problem is none of those teams did anything worth getting a 12. They didn't win in the non-conference. They've dropped too many in the league play. It's a bizarre league for sure. But yeah, Freeman's gone from Rhode Island. Couple of injuries returns that we should mention. Nick Smith Jr. back for Arkansas, potentially a real season shifter for them. They did not win in his return, but Kai, we expect them to, especially him, to trend up a little bit as he gets healthier and gets the rust off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not an Arkansas believer by any means, but I do think him being back obviously is pretty huge. And their predictive metrics are still really strong from a resume standpoint. They could end up getting a pretty good seed still.
Indeed. And then Nick Ongenda is back for DePaul. They continue to add pieces. Caleb Murphy, Nick Ongenda, Yorane. It's like one guy every week they add from their preseason potential rotation. This is a big one though, Matt. We are a big fan of his game. Shot blocker, rebounder, rim runner. really athletic big guy. I think he's going to make a difference, despite the fact that they blew that St. John's game and lost in double overtime.
Yeah, kind of a fun game. I wasn't watching, but the tweets I was tracking were kind of interesting. Clearly, some bad juju between David Jones and the existing DePaul Demons, who are currently residing.
I think Ongenda got a technical foul after he rejected him and talked
made a
smack.
shot and was John. Yep. Kai, DePaul is 3-12 in the Big East. That is 2 games above Georgetown. God bless Georgetown's existence for DePaul fans. At least they've avoided the basement during the Patrick Ewing era. But when he leaves, I think there's an open seat be waiting for them back where they are so used to sitting.
It's a good thing none of us bet Georgetown to finish ahead of DePaul in a board bet. That certainly wasn't me. You guys definitely didn't have the right side of that one.
Oh, phew. Thank goodness. Go DePaul.
Yeah, you guys took DePaul. I took Georgetown like an idiot. Absolute moron.
I don't feel good about where I stand. Jim, a lot of runway left here. We have
you think
games.
Georgetown's winning 2 more Big East games? I certainly don't. All right.
Oh, Kai, we have Butler at home. So we might be all right there.
We're fine.
You'll be fine. All right. Other random news and notes, guys. I want to do a quick Hunter Dickinson discussion because he tried to make himself like the villain of the sport, be the loudmouth on a podcast, and just has not backed it up at all. That team is like surefire NIT. He had, I think, like 1 point in the second half against Wisconsin yesterday, completely vanished. His teammates didn't get him the ball. That's part of it. But he also missed some bunny-esque shots late. You can't do this. He wore a ski mask into the arena.
What was the point of that?
I don't know. Like to be anonymous after he had talked so much crap on the Badgers. I don't really get it. I think he is. Yeah, he's a loser. Let's say that.
Michigan's an NBA. They're a dysfunctional NBA team. They're like a Nets or like where like all the players just trying to, like, they're all like misunderstood. I feel like they're all in their own little individual world. There's just too much.
This is
it feels very NBA.
This is the social media, man. Thank God we didn't have it like this in college, because now you see teams like Indiana and Michigan doing this crap where they are all their personalities. Everyone hates us, blah, 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 that sort of thing. It's annoying. Stay off social media.
You're just not any good. That's my take. I don't have any issue with you. You're not winning games.
Not to bring Chris Beard back up, but at Texas Tech, for a full season, they gave up his players gave up their phones. I think that was the year they went to the Final Four. And he's like, yeah, it was really hard, blah, blah, but it, made us better connected, something like that. I'd rather have that type of thing than being a fake hater guy on the internet. Also, Jim, they wore free Juwan shirts in the warmups as well, which is a reference to Juwan slapping Wisconsin coach Greg Gard as if like
he slapped Krabbenhoft
somehow in the right.
Record.
What?
He slapped Krabbenhoft for the record.
Yes. As if like Juwan wasn't in the wrong in that situation last season. Strange.
Yeah. It was really weird. I saw the responses like, why would Juwan let them wear that? Like that even that is like a weird leadership message. I don't know. Really bizarre stuff out of Michigan. Have fun in the NIT. I think you're pretty well destined there. Mm-hmm. The end of the Duke Virginia game, Matt. Duke has been involved in some controversial late game stuff. I actually stuck up for the Blue Devils last time when the Virginia Tech player had like basically punched Filipowski in the face, said it should have been technical of some sort. This one, I also kind of think Duke got screwed, and the ACC officiating has admitted such that Filipowski did get fouled. It happened before the buzzer. He should have been shooting 2 free throws at the end of regulation. We don't know if he makes both or either one, Matt, but he should have had a chance to stop it from going to OT.
Yeah, it was a foul. The bigger story here is the ACC referee fiasco. Like multiple times now, they've had to redact late game calls, and it feels like every year. This year we've had multiple conferences with refs on the hot seat, but the ACC has been front and center this year. So I don't really understand what each conference is doing differently with their referees and training or treatment. I don't quite understand that world. I wish I knew more about that. I need to kind of dig deeper in that. But I mean, SEC fans hate the SEC refs. Big Ten fans hate the Big Ten refs. ACC fans definitely hate the ACC refs now. I don't know. Pac-12 fans, do you have a take on your refs? You don't probably care about basketball that much. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. Every year I feel like this comes up.
Is John Shire just soft letting this happen to his team and not having a
Coach K? That foul's never turned around.
Not even debated.
It's amazing the ACC said the refs got it wrong, but there's nothing.
It's been a couple times they've done this. I think it's the third time they've done that. Let me see.
Tough.
Well, that's Matt. You mentioned NBA comparisons. They do this in the NBA. The last 2 minutes report with the ref stuff and be like, "Hey, we missed a travel here, a reach there," and like you see it every game. And now they did this for this one. It does kind of end up being a can of worms. But we've talked about, hey, it'd be cool if refs had to do press conferences and answer similar questions the way players and coaches do. Well, they answered for this one. And at least I like that they admitted they were wrong. I kind of respect that move. You'll bounce back. Duke's going to be in the tournament. It's not going to cost them a bid or anything. So it's
solid 8 seed, baby. Get ready for us.
And we know that Duke doesn't think the regular season title matters at all, right, Kai?
Doesn't.
They hate it. It's stupid. So who cares if you didn't win this game?
That's right. Duke claims the ACC regular season conference title means nothing. Okay.
Yeah. Tournament team.
Yeah.
All right.
Tournament team. Whatever. Reddit stat of the day, Kai. Let's go to you, and then we'll get to We Saw That.
Reddit stat of the day from username YepYepers via Kelly Dickey. Louisville. Yes, sorry, it's Louisville. Their 158 game winning streak when scoring at least 85 points in regulation comes to an end with a loss to Miami, 93-85. The last such loss was 94-86 to Georgia Tech on December 20th, 1997. How do people find these stats?
I don't know. Respect. Certainly not something I would have dug up, but I like it. All right, let's get into We've Saw That. This is from the last week or so of hoops. Things that just jumped out to us, not quite big enough for 3-man thoughts, but impressive performances, etc. The best play of the year, I think you got to go that route with Portland State's buzzer beater to beat Northern Arizona. They went the length of the floor with 0.4 left after NAU had hit a go-ahead 3. Again, 0.4 you have to tip. And this guy had a tip in from 15 feet away. Isaiah Johnson, Matt, a hell of a pass from Hunter Woods. Kai, you saw this. I mean, just a ludicrous play.
It was one of the coolest plays I've ever seen. And we retweeted it. I don't know what else you can say. It's like a one-hand catch, like it wasn't quite a tip, but it was like a catch throw as fast as you can possibly do it. And it was off the backboard and he fell down while he was doing it. Incredible. Awesome. College basketball.
Yeah. I've watched a lot of basketball in my life. I have never seen that. I've genuinely never seen something happen in 0.4, the length of the court like that. It was really, really cool to see unique things after watching the sport for this long. Kai, other buzzer beaters, our Tigers, DeAndre Golston at the Horn to beat Tennessee on the road. Massive quad 1A win for Mizzou. At some point, I think at least one or two other Mizzou fans I know, when they fouled Vescovy down 2 with 4 seconds left, some people turned the game off, or I was tempted. I was watching it in the sauna at my building, actually. Yes. And my phone was getting hot and I was like, I should just get out of this. My phone won't shut down. But I stuck it out and I ran around the little locker room at my building and celebrated.
Yes, I was at a bar with a couple.
You're much cooler than me.
A very empty bar. It was just like us and the bartender because no one else has SEC Network in Chicago somehow. Ran around the bar. It was fantastic. Yes, incredible.
Other shouts out to Emo Essian of Old Dominion. He pulled a Tyus Edney going the length of the court in 4 seconds to beat Texas State at the buzzer. Matt Messiah Thompson of Alabama A&M had a jumper to win to beat your Delta Devils. Did you see this one?
I did not see it, no. But I like Messiah. He was the Messiah in that moment, I suppose.
Yeah, you avert your eyes to your Delta Devils losing. I get it. You don't catch those.
They've
moments.
been feisty this year. There's a new dawn and a new day under George Ivory's regime, Jim. Hometown guy, alumni, he's back. I love it.
And speaking of the SWAC, Alcorn's Dontrell McWhorter had a buzzer-beating dunk on an inbounds play against Bethune-Cookman. This was wild too. Like just lost him on the back cut, dunk right at the buzzer. Very, very cool there. And Kennesaw State had a buzzer beater to stay in the ASUN title race. We'll talk about that a little bit in 3-man thoughts as well. Best performances of the week, no doubt, Jalen Pickett against Illinois last night. 41 points, 8 assists, only took 20 shots to score 41 points. Ruthlessly efficient, tore them to shreds. Kai, I think it's the best performance I've seen all year.
It's funny, at the beginning of the year, somebody suggested Jalen Pickett was the best guard in the Big Ten and got laughed at. And he might be the best guard in the country.
Did we do any of the laughing? I can't remember how we reacted to that take.
No, because our take was there's no good guards in the Big Ten, so it's entirely possible.
We were wrong.
I don't think we called Pickett the best in the Big Ten, though. I'm not sure I even really considered it.
I think I might have said Llewellyn. Somebody said Hogard.
I heard Xavier Johnson. I heard Hogard. I heard Illinois, Sky Clark. I heard that. I heard all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we were on the wrong side of history with Pickett there. He is remarkable. Still, I don't know if I can vote him like Wooden Award candidate if his team's not in the tournament. That's my one problem.
All-American though?
Yeah, he can be an All-American for sure.
Not Wooden Award. Yeah.
You're not a top 45 team. That's tough. Antoine Davis had 2 different 40-point games back-to-back. Second time he's done this year, gone back-to-back with 40. He is now within 185 points of Pistol Pete with 4 regular season games plus the Horizon tourney to go. It is going to be close for Mr. Davis for the all-time leading scorer in college hoops. And Western Carolina's Trey Jackson had 47 in a double overtime win over Wofford. 14 of 21 from the field. He hit 8 threes. He and one other guy, Vontarius Wilbright, had 77 of their 95 points. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely insane. They did this before too, I think. Before the Furman game, they combined for like 70. Wild numbers they're putting up.
Yep. A couple other wild upsets. Nebraska took down Rutgers at the rack. We are going to discuss Rutgers. I am worried. Nebraska also beat Wisconsin at Pinnacle Bank by 10 in overtime. Matt, our guy, Keisei Tominaga, is a total weapon, just unstoppable right now.
Shoot it from anywhere, Jimbo. Oh, he's getting all the minutes now because they're hurt. So they're not really guarding anybody, but they're just kind of letting him shoot. We're back to old Hoiberg ball, right? Defense optional, kind of just launch threes, maybe you compete, but probably lose. So it's a bummer, but I guess it's fun for Tominaga.
They're right in the thick of the Big Ten standings. So they're 6-10. They're not too far behind, like the middle.
6-10.
It's wow. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
They're going the wrong way, though.
They're ahead of Ohio State. I'll tell you that much.
They are.
Some crazy Mountain West upsets. Wyoming beat New Mexico at New Mexico. Jalen House, very important. We're also going to talk about New Mexico in 3-man thoughts. And San Jose State beat UNLV on the road. The Timmy Miles revolution. It is here, just so far and away like the best team they've had in 15 to 20 years. Mm-hmm. And it didn't take that long. So tip of the cap, Mr. Miles. The NEC has a weird little bracketing dynamic or issue going on here. Their 2 best teams that are tied for first, Merrimack and Stonehill, are not eligible for the NCAA tournament.
Love it.
Both of them, Kai. It's ridiculous. This also tells you that D2, man, not far behind D1 at all.
No, not at all. It's crazy, right? And it sucks that these guys can't get eligible. We've ranted about it a lot, but they should be eligible.
Yep. Fairleigh Dickinson is in 3rd, and their coach and 3 of their top 5 players are Division II guys also. Like, it is a, I don't know, that league is a lot closer to Division II than maybe we would like to think.
It is.
Lastly, UNC and Kentucky are on the brink of not making the tournament. Goodness gracious, they are sitting on the cut line, straddling it even, 1 in, 1 out potentially at this point. Combined 1 in 15 versus Q1 competition. Maybe we should just send them to Dayton and let them square off. I
would love it. And the tournament would love it too. The ratings for UNC, Kentucky, and Dayton would be very good. And one of them would make the Sweet 16. Guarantee it.
Yeah, almost inevitably.
Yes.
Matthew, which one do you trust more?
I don't trust either one, but I'm all in on putting them in the Dayton thing. Like, I don't care if you have to rig this is the one year where I'm like, I want all the meddling in the committee room, right? All of the puppeteering of placing teams we want there. Very in on it. My dad had this huge log text. He's like, yeah, I thought about this for a while. It's like, this is a great idea. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. 2021 UCLA and Michigan State. Yep. The only time for teams to, since the tournament expanded, to go to that spot. I mean, that's fun. I'm here for that.
What's the stat on that? The only time that 2 teams what?
Like big name teams.
2021 big name teams that were slotted. Yeah, call it premier program slotted in that first 4 spot. That was the Alford.
That was the Final Four team.
Yeah,
that's right.
Michigan State kind of blew it, not making free throws down the stretch, and
that's right.
So begats a Final Four run, hype train for the next season, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, that wraps up. We've saw that. Matt, we're going to you for 3-man thoughts to lead us off, because I like the transition from other sports to our beloved college hoops.
Our time, our game. Just want to welcome those who are joining to the sport at this point in the season. We could call you fairweathers, we could call you flakes, but we're not. We're going to welcome you with open arms. Get a drink over there, bathrooms there. Let's, welcome as proper host, Kai, these noobs to the party. I think there's this general recurring narrative around college basketball, and I'm guilty of it as I watch games, off and on, like how much worse our sport is than the NBA, how stuck in the Stone Ages it is in many regards. And I think it's somewhat true, but I think we're going in the right direction. Just look back kind of how the game's evolved since 16 with the shot clock shortening from 35 to 30. 2020, we moved back the 3-point line to try and open up the space. So that was kind of, I think, the big impetus for what we're seeing, the new evolution of the college game, where I think we have the space that we've always wanted. we have more of the tempo. At least we're getting towards that we've always wanted. At least those, more NBA modern offensive seekers want. But we're also not losing, at least I don't think we've lost the heterogeneity, to use a fun word, Kai, write that one down, of the styles and the contrast of schemes. And that's kind of what makes this game so great. You look at some of the numbers, KenPom tracks this. I've been doing some little charting myself. Efficiency is like on path to maybe break a record for the KenPom era, which dates back to 1999. I think we're a little behind the 2017, 2018 years, which had some like all-time elite offenses, shooters, shot makers. Villanova is like the forefront of that era. We'll probably get there next year. We're just seeing people take and make shots at a higher clip from farther out. We're seeing the right guys take those shots. I think just the balance and equilibrium is starting to come into effect. I like that. It's good for the game.
Yes. As long as they stop at 30 seconds, Matthew. No 24.
No 24-second shot.
I agree with that. I agree with that. So I guess my final point is like, okay, I like the changes we've made. Let's not make any more changes.
Yeah.
Another thing too is that we don't have any like great teams this year, but I think we have a lot of really, 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 really good teams, and a lot of those really, 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 really good teams are fun programs with fun fan bases. I think will make for like an awesome round of 32, round of 16, where we might not have like the blue blood laden Final Four we had last year. I think the earlier rounds are set up to be awesome this season. And we just talked about how the first four could be a blue blood showcase. At least one or two of those teams could wind up there. Kai, even go back to my efficiency point, look at free throw shooting. Like percentages, we're making free throws at the highest rate we've ever made free throws, which is crazy. We're also calling the least amount of fouls we've called in a while. So as much as we think like these games turn into ref shows, and I think a lot of times they do, relative to what we watched a decade ago, it's better. So I just wanted to say, like, this game's not so terrible, and I think we're going in the right direction. That's all I got.
Yeah, Matt, what you're saying, like some of the fun fan bases, like could be one of Marquette's best teams ever, could be one of Creighton's best teams ever. UConn is back. Really, really good fan bases that have been waiting to be a part of the elite national conversation. Yeah. Yep. So it's fun. We're excited about it. Kai, we're going to go to you. Matt just mentioned New Mexico. That is a part of your thought.
Streaking and freaking is my first thought here. You like the title? I do. Three teams that are streaking, doing very well right now, heading on a good path. Three teams that are freaking, losing their edge and falling fast. Starting with the streakers, Texas Tech, man. I'm saying there's a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. I'm saying there's a chance. They've won 2 in a row. They picked up 3 Q1 wins in the span of 2 weeks. They have 5 games left in the Big 12, all of which are Q1, Q2. If they go 4-1 down the stretch, they're 18-13, 7-11 in the Big 12. That's a puncher's chance at the dance, especially with Big 12 tournament play coming up. And Fardaws Aimaq back in the lineup has been huge for them. Texas Tech, they could get there. What a surprise that would be.
They could, yeah. I mean, they were very buried. I mean, currently still not a great versus Q1, Q2 record. Right. I did see one of their, I think it was Austin Massey said like, oh, they've got more Q1 wins than enlisted like 8 teams. It's like, well, you've also got 12 Q1, Q2 losses. And
yes,
it's not all pretty, but yeah, they could theoretically do it down the stretch here.
A team that's way closer, and in fact, in the tournament right now, as of today, per bracket matrix, is Mississippi State, currently an 11 seed, 5 straight wins, including TCU, Mizzou, and Arkansas, at Arkansas, by the way. 4 Q1, Q2 games remain. They look to be in solid shape. Chris Jans, obviously a fantastic hire. We said it was too at the beginning of the season. Impressed by what he's done. Happy for Miss State that they're in this position as well.
Matt, what do you make of them starting 11-0, then 1-8, then 5-0? Like, what is it with? Why were they so inconsistent in that 1-8 stretch?
I don't know. Jan's kind of like foreshadowed the rut. He like really didn't like how his team was playing, like in that middle part of December, and then it all kind of came crashing down. And well, I think they've improved. This is one of those things where they weren't never as bad as they may have been perceived during the rut, and they're probably not as awesome as we're thinking they are now because they won 5 in a row. I think there's some natural variance in there. Their offense it's gotten a little better. They still can't make any shots. Like the shooting is completely awful. I gotta think that they're going to get just some natural fortuitous rolls. I mean, like I said, 27% from 3 and 57% from the free throw line in conference play over 12 games. That's not good.
It's really, really bad. Yeah.
They'll be an early exit in the tournament, but I'm glad they're going to go there.
They guard though, man. They guard like
they do guard. Third team, Northwestern. 3 straight wins, just beat Purdue. They're a lock to make the dance now. Chris Collins saves his job. He gets his second berth, the school's second berth in history. Probably an 8 seed right now. Their ceiling, though, is a 6. I mean, or maybe even higher. Right? They have 6 games left against Q1, Q2 competition. It's not crazy to think they get higher. And as weird as it is to say, they're only 2 games back of first place in the Big Ten. That would be the craziest thing that's ever happened. Northwestern winning the Big Ten this season. We'll see. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah, my brain can't process that. So I need it to not happen just for my own sanity. That would be nuts.
3 teams that are freaking. New Mexico. Oh, no. They've lost 4 in a row. They've dropped 21 spots in KenPom in that span. Now, partially due to the fact they've been injured, Jalen House being out has been important, but they still picked up a Q4 loss yesterday. They picked up a Q3 loss. Bracket Matrix right now has them as an 11 seed, and some have them out of the tournament altogether. Matt, I hope that doesn't happen. I want to see the Lobos in there.
They won at St. Mary's. Process that.
Yes.
They won at St. Mary's.
One of the best wins of ever. It
was a while ago, but they won at St. Mary's. Yeah.
Yes.
They won at San Diego State too, which is also
I
really
forgot about
good.
that too. Yep. Yeah, weird. House. I mean, God, I'm kind of with you. This team can't be. I did not hype up my guy
like that.
No, you can't lose to Wyoming, Air Force. Nope, can't do it. Not by double digits.
How much of it goes back to Morris Udeze getting hacked like crazy in overtime against New Mexico or against Nevada, on the road? Should have gotten called for a foul. He goes to the free throw line, clinches the game perhaps. And instead he gets called for a flagrant for swinging his elbow. They lose that game in double overtime. And since they have lost 4 or 5. It's wild, some of the thin margins in this sport.
Indeed. Another team that's freaking that came up in Matthew's discussion last week is USC. They just dropped both games to the Oregon schools. The Oregon State loss is detrimental. They are currently the last team in the field per bracket matrix. They aren't good. I hope they miss the dance, Matt. You know me and Andy Enfield. Heck, you know you and Andy Enfield. Get out of here, Trojans.
I tried to get back on the good side, good grace of Mr. Enfield. I gave him some love in my last pod, which I'm going to amend, as you'll hear in my next thought coming up here. So yeah, I was fooled. Shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me thrice, slap me hard. I don't know, Jim. Your thoughts are
4 times.
No, I don't have much thought on USC. It's just, they're in the Enfield zone, Kai. They are exactly where we pretty much always prognosticate them to be. That 40 to 60 range.
Yep, exactly.
Even kind of the further end of that right now.
And finally, the last team that's freaking. It's Clemson, man. 3 straight losses. They're outside of the field right now, looking in per bracket matrix. Wild to think after starting 10-1 in the ACC. I hope they find a way, Jim. I'm kind of rooting for this Clemson team to at least be in the field. I do think Brad Brownell is a really good coach. But alas, this is where they sit right now.
Yeah, you got a big old crush on PJ Hall. Of course you want him in the field. We know that's your boy.
I love PJ Hall. He's awesome. He's awesome.
They're defending really well. I'm kind of surprised at the tempo they play at because of their best players being bigs, but they can shoot. So it sort of makes sense. You just get more possessions, let your shooting play out, sort of understand that. But yeah, the non-conference strength of schedule was terrible. They played bad teams and they lost to some of those bad teams and they got killed by one of those bad teams. Loyola Chicago just took them to the woodshed. That has aged horribly. And unfortunately, you lose to BC, you take another bad loss there. It's tough. They're going to have to prove it down the stretch that they belong in the tournament. They got at NC State, at Virginia. I think you got at least split those games.
Yeah.
It just dawned on me real quick, Kai. PJ Hall is like Miles Teller on literal steroids. Like it hit me when I was watching the post game press.
Pretty big.
Yeah, Teller's actually kind of big dude, but like, so you have his kind of like surfer dude vibe, and then his face has a lot of the same features. So I'm going to start calling PJ Hall Miles Teller going forward. Yeah, I like Hall too. He's baller.
Love it. Jim, this actually goes really well into your first thought.
Yep, dovetails into it. It's a little more, I hate to be more negative, but these are teams that I am worried about. I think we need to discuss and see if they can figure it out down the stretch here. And the first one, no doubt, is Rutgers. They are 0-3 since Maywat Mag got hurt. They just lost at home to Nebraska. Like, all right, sure, you lost at Indiana. I'll get over it. But you can't lose at home to Nebraska, shorthanded Nebraska, who also has injuries. It's not like they're super full strength like Rutgers was. It's a team that is reliant on its defense and is not very deep. And they lost maybe their most versatile defender. McConnell's probably their best defender, but Mag can guard anybody. And now they just don't have enough pieces, Matt, because they didn't really use the portal much in the offseason. How bad can this go for Rutgers right now?
Me and our beloved Michael Cohen, Rutgers fan, IU alum, but Rutgers fan, sat courtside for the FAU game. We were discussing Rutgers as they collapsed against Illinois, talking about the Mag injury. And it's just one of those things where, did Peichel ignore the portal? Sure, but that's kind of part of his thing. I think he wants to protect the guys that he has, and I don't blame him for that. But I think he could have used one more piece, because now the margin for error is, it was always thin, and now it's starting to come back to bite him because they have no depth, and that team just doesn't have any offensive skill. It's really like, all right, Paul McCahey, do something, or Cliff Marie, go get an offensive rebounder or score in the post. And that's kind of all they have. It's bad. But Kyle can't score at all.
Like 2 or 3 straight games, and Mulcahy has more turnovers than points, or more turnovers than field goals.
And he's my boy, but he's always been a little bit erratic. You don't know what you're getting. So it's not a good offensive recipe. That's all I'll say.
So Kai, from a bracket sense, they are now 46th average in resume metrics, and resume metrics most important for being selected. That's really bad. You're getting into like bubble territory with that. Some of the other stuff helped them, so they're not really in danger yet, but they have a terrible non-conference strength of schedule, which is often something held against teams on the cut line. And per Brad Wachtel on Twitter, I saw this, one of our Fielding the 68 cohorts, they have the worst road neutral record of anyone in the field right now. They're 2-7. It's like there's some things where if they get down to like 17-14 overall, they lose 4 of their last 5, which is doable with their schedule. There's a nightmare scenario where they don't make the tournament.
They could fall out of the field. Yeah, right now I agree they're safe, but yes, it's getting a little bit too close for comfort, I think, for the Knights.
Yeah, and I think for their fans, they're just like, why should we believe we're going to win? We lost at home to Nebraska. Who are we going to beat now?
Yeah, woof.
I feel bad for Jersey Mike's, as that sponsor gets no reference ever when we talk about the rack. Like no one ever.
And they don't deserve it, Matthew.
Mike. They don't deserve it. I agree. So never mind. I don't feel bad for Jersey Mike's.
Just call it the rack sponsored by Jersey Mike's or something. Like they could have done that.
Yeah. It's not Jersey Mike does not own that arena. They can sponsor it, but they don't own it. It's not entitled.
Not in our hearts. Not in our hearts. All right. Next is Kansas State, guys. I want to talk about them because I think I was the first one to hop on the bandwagon earlier in the year. I tried to convince you they were really good, but now I've come up with this analogy for them as they've lost 5 of their last 7, 6 of their last 10. It feels like, Matt, a team that is a pitcher going through the batting order a third time, where they're just familiar with them now. They know the tricks. They know what they're doing. There's, a pitcher with only 2 pitches. They've got a fastball and a slider. They've got Noel and they've got Keontae Johnson, and the depth of weaponry is not really there. And now they've scored under 1 point per possession in 5 of their last 6. I worry about them, man. And you kind of were always hesitant to get on this bandwagon. Are you gloating now, or are you concerned? Where are you at with them?
Can I partially defend them in the fact that this is the Big 12, and that's kind of almost any team in this conference, save maybe Kansas and Baylor, are susceptible to going through a rut like this, because every team's good, every team's desperate. Even the bad teams are desperate and still good at this time of year, right? Oklahoma beaten by 14.
Even Baylor started 0-3 in the league.
0-3 in the league. So all that aside, Jim, teams are shooting 29% against them from behind the arc in conference play. The regression shooting thing is very real. I think the Marquise Noel and Key Johnson, as you mentioned, just caught people by surprise, right? Like no one was expecting those guys to come out and just shoot the absolute lights out, or just do what they're such unique type players, and they caught people off guard. So I kind of think this is what we were expecting. Some of this, they're better than I clearly thought preseason, but they're definitely not what they were for 3/4 of the year. I don't
high postseason prognosis for them. I mean, they're going to get a pretty solid seed, but what do you think?
I think they're okay still. They're very Iowa State from last year. They're like following a similar pattern where they dominated non-con surprisingly, and now they're kind of falling back down to earth in conference play. I still think they're a really good team. I'm still a huge believer in Noel and Johnson, and most importantly, Tang. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think they can make noise in the tournament, but they're not a top 10 team or top 15 type of team.
Yeah.
K-State will be one and done. One and done. You heard it here first.
The one thing I was first round, Matt. Wow. As a 4-ish, 5.
If they're 5, they lose into 12. What if they play VCU, Kai? What if they're 4-13 versus VCU?
Kai, here are your 13s. VCU,
man.
Oh, no, Drake. I'd take Drake. How about Kai? We have Iona on the 14 seed line. If K-State's a 3 and they're playing Iona, I'm just saying, Rick Pitino in the tournament will voodoo magic. We know how that goes.
We don't know how he does Iona yet. He hasn't made it yet.
The one thing though I would say, Matt, is if
he covered against he covered against Alabama.
He made it 2 years ago.
Alabama, thank you. Alabama 2 years ago.
But he lost, and that's all we remember.
He did lose.
He lost.
If we're extending my analogy on, the pitcher going through the lineup, whoever's playing them in the first round of the NCAA tournament will be seeing them for the first time.
Valid point.
Maybe there's tape on them and you can actually glean stuff from that, but we'll see. I don't know if they're going to be quite as vulnerable as they are in my head, but hey, if Noel or Keontae has a bad game, like they're so beatable because who else is picking up that slack?
Desi Sills, make shots, please. Yeah,
he did against Kansas. He had a hell of a game against Kansas. Picked up the slack for Noel. It can happen.
Yep. But they're not playing tournament games in Manhattan. Last I checked, unfortunately. All right, Iowa State, last team I mentioned here. They have lost 4 of 5 and 6 of 9. Again, that's symptomatic of just playing in the Big 12. But Kai, I do think there's some alarm bells. Like the offense, when they're not hitting threes at a crazy rate, Kalsher has come back down to earth. They're a little vulnerable. If you can handle pressure, then what do they have?
Yep, I think the beginning of conference play, they were playing above their heads offensively, right? The shot making was a little bit ridiculous, especially when you looked at their non-con, when their offense wasn't really that great. It's just kind of coming back down. They're still a great defensive team, elite on that end. I think they have a higher ceiling in the tournament than K-State. I say that? Do I really believe that? I'll give them a slightly higher ceiling than K-State in the tournament, slightly, because they're more elite on the defensive end.
I like K-State as the high ceiling, low floor, like really wide range of outcomes.
K-State has a star power, which is more important in the tournament too. Iowa State didn't really have that.
Yeah, Matt, this team is really reliant on 2 St. Bonaventure transfers. Oh, you have a flickering light, you poor guy.
I feel like I'm in like the scene in Severance where they play like the celebratory DJ scene, and it's like gets all like epilepsy. Hold on, I need to address real quick, Jim. 1 second.
Oh gosh, Matt, you could play through this. This is sad.
You could play through this. Yes, you could.
All right, whatever. We'll move on. I have an eyebrow up at Iowa State. I'm gonna be monitoring them. I know it's the Big 12, so that's part of it.
I agree with Kai's take. I think Iowa State I trust them more in the tournament than K-State.
Why? Let me make you answer.
Defensive prowess, right? I think they had the defensive bedrock to fall back on. Yeah, their shot making can come and go, but I think the defensive bedrock, as we saw their run last year, although they got a favorable draw, we can all admit that. I think that helps them for sure. Gives them a little more edge in case
2 of their best players are St. Bonaventure guys that have never really had that much postseason success. I don't know. I'm still scarred by them getting absolutely spanked by LSU in the first round 2 years ago.
But St. Bonaventure guys who led St. Bonaventure to the best team ever at that school. So not your run of the mill St. Bonaventure transfers also.
True. All right, let's move on. Kai, did you have a second thought? Or should we go to Matt?
I have a second thought, but Matt can go first.
We'll go to Matt.
All right. So it was kind of a partial amendment of my thought last week, which shined some light and some praise on USC among other Pac-12 schools. Basically, I think the Pac-12 is going to be an underrated team come tournament time. People are going to forget about them. They're going to be like looking at their kind of highly flawed resumes because of the losses they take in conference, sort of making the point that this always happens. The Pac-12 is a weird place where they beat up on each other, but they tend to have weird, unique styles and no one knows them that well, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to replace USC after they lost to Oregon State. I'm going to insert the San Diego State Aztecs as a West Coast +1 after dark team here. I like this Aztecs team, and I think you guys like them more than I did preseason, and I've kind of come around to them. So I'm wondering if you guys abandoned ship, or why haven't I heard you talk about the Aztecas at the show at Viejas? Kai, Jim, putting you on the spot here.
I've been talking about San Diego State all year, man. I'm still a believer. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll sing it louder then.
Because I didn't hear it, man. I've loved this team since day one. Still do.
It's a little quiet, little crickets from both of you on this team. Yeah, I think it's a better version.
We gotten what we hoped from them. Like the Ladie and Trammell additions have infused more offense. They played at a real breakneck pace in non-conference, like big time transition, kind of juiced up that attack. But they slowed it back down in league play to become the more dominant defensive force that we expected with Mensa in there. But they also still have the league's best offense, Matt. Like, can you believe that? San Diego State has the best offense in the Mountain West. That's shocking.
And that they're kind of, so just real quick, they smoked Boise. They were pounding Utah State and hung on barely. And they were pounding UNLV until UNLV came back and made that a deceptively close. It was never close. They owned wire to wire. You're right. They can score. And I think they're doing like the TCU model where a really good coach recognizes he has lots of good athletes and good speed, maybe not the most reliable shooting and shot making. So, let's go get quick, easy buckets in transition where you don't have to set up an execute against half-court offense. I think it's brilliant, right? Very easy. They can also supplement on the offensive glass. I love that. Defensively, they're rock solid. Nathan Mensah has been a linchpin in that defense for years now. It's kind of odd that their 2-point percentage defense actually isn't as good as you're used to seeing with that team. I kind of think there's some odd regression there because they're still blocking a ton of shots, and when I watch them, it still looks like it's a pretty sound defense. But I just like that there is this balance on both ends, and they have this depth that I don't think they've had in years past, where a different guy can beat you on any given night. This is fresh in my mind because I just watch FAU, but Florida Atlantic's arguably their best players come off the bench, and San Diego State's most productive offensive players, they don't always come off the bench, but guys like Adam Psycho, Jade Lundy, Micah Parrish have been their best players on multiple given nights so far in conference play. I think that unpredictability has been a huge boon for them, and I think it makes them an interesting deep run candidate in the tournament because so many different guys can beat you. You don't really know who's going to beat you. One guy's cold, another guy steps up. A by committee approach. I don't know. A lot of boxes checked as I re-examined the Aztecas, and I'm kind of, I guess I'm saluting both of you in your correct preseason take, and I am sorry I was a cynic. So that's all I have.
I think the interesting comparison is like how much they've aligned with Creighton. Like that was a team that they lost to in the NCAA tournament last year in an 8-9 game, and both entered this year with a lot of hype. And now they're like right next to each other in seedless. They're 3 spots apart at KenPom. And look at the drum being beaten for Creighton and absolutely nothing for San Diego State. I think it's partially because Mountain West has had some failures in the NCAA tournament recently, and people are just skeptical of that league as a whole.
Also, yeah, so Scott's saying they weren't deep. Now they are deep. They had like 4 guys dealing with like a minor injury. Who's the reporter that we love? Ziegler? Like maybe the best beat reporter in college basketball. Awesome, just covers his team super well. He talked about this at length. I think they're a definite buy low. So
yeah,
cherry on top.
37th nationally in bench minutes. Like they definitely use their depth a lot.
And that depth is healthy.
2 other guards that shoot and handle the ball. They have plenty of depth at guard. Absolutely.
Like Psycho and Arapa.
Psycho's been hurt. He's back.
He's back. Drilling 3. He had like 21 the other night. Yeah, this is a good team.
Yeah. All right. Kai, should I take it? Do you want it?
I'll take it, Jim. We'll keep the
That
order
boy.
here. Ohio State is who I'm talking about. I'm taking Matt's optimism about San Diego State, and I'm flipping it on its head with Ohio State. A sad state of affairs, if you will, for the Buckeyes. 11-14 this year. They're 3-11 in the Big Ten. That's 13th. That's second to last. 3 games behind Nebraska. Pretty bad. They've lost 6 in a row. They've gone from 19 to 51 in KenPom during that span. I've heard a lot of calls for Chris Holtman's head, guys. This will be the first tournament he's missed during his tenure, but he's never made a Sweet 16 at Ohio State. In 2021, he was beaten as a 2 seed to Oral Roberts. And I like Chris Holtman, but I understand the want for him to go, and I think it is reasonable. He's outperformed his preseason KenPom rank just twice in 6 seasons. Pretty tough. Now, this team is brand new. It was among the lowest returning minutes team in the country, but that's not really a major excuse you can use anymore in the transfer world when so many teams go through fluctuations and you see some guys succeed. So as tough it is to say, I think it might be time to move on from Holtman, guys. And Ohio State, tough year, man. Tough year.
I'm going to say no for 2 reasons. I'm moving on.
All right.
First is I think a lot of the schools that moved on from a coach because they missed out on a chance at the 2020 tournament have maybe regretted it a little bit. And that team was 8th in KenPom. Like they had a real chance to make a run. They would have been forecasted as a 5 seed. Who knows? But that was his best team by KenPom ranking. So who knows where that would have gone. And second, if he gets this sophomore class to come back next year, I think they've got a really good chance. Like Sensabaugh probably goes pro. But Bruce Thornton is really, really solid. And the freshman big man has made some plays that impressed me, Matt Okpara. I think he's got real upside. He just didn't do well in the portal last year. Some of the guys he grabbed, like Likely and Tanner Holden, 2 wings that can't shoot, I didn't think fit. I would go 1 more year with him, but like I said, I sort of get the impatience.
I get it. I think he mismanaged the freshman and veteran balance this season. I think he seems like he gave too much rope to Sensabaugh and kind of went away from like their interior played through Zed Key and their bigs, which felt like it was more of the right way to play as we saw them years past have success. Although losing EJ Liddell can't be overlooked either. I like Chris Holtman. I think he's a great coach. I think whoever picks him up will be lucky to get him. But I also understand maybe you want to move on. And also you're Ohio State, not like you can't get anyone you want.
Exactly.
Almost. So,
and they had a lot of success under Thad Matta and kind of set a standard for a bit there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get it.
Know. Hey, in the chat, Notre Dame, Coach Hastings asked, would he parachute Notre Dame? I'd be happy if I was Notre Dame getting Chris Holtman, but
yeah, I would too.
I've heard that mentioned as well. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a chance. I just be careful what you wish for with Ohio State. I mean, you don't want to go back to the Jim O'Brien days where that was really bad late. Yeah. So who knows? You want to have a real plan in mind if you get rid of him. Don't can him to can him. Get rid of him because you have like 2 or 3 targets you think are very obtainable.
Is Porter Moser still a done deal to Notre Dame?
I don't think done deal. I think it's definitely being discussed. I think he came out and said he has no interest in it, but like every coach has to say that. So I don't really put a lot of credence on that.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope Porter comes to Notre Dame. I hope Porter goes to Notre Dame so we see him out in Chicago more often like we used to.
Yeah, there we go. Let's hang out with him at the Hoxton or wherever he ends up.
That's right.
Jim, over to you.
All right. Last thought here, just some great mid-major races I want to highlight. As you know, one thing we like to do on this pod is focus on things outside of the true national picture. So just going to mention some of these, make you guys pick who you think wins down the stretch. The SoCon, 3-way tie atop standings, 12-2, Furman, UNC Greensboro, and Samford. Some context, UNC Greensboro and Samford play tonight. And then Furman goes to Samford on the final day of the season. Otherwise, I think the schedules are very manageable for all 3 parties. Matthew, your pick.
Furman, outright regular season, and then they capitalize in the tourney, avenge last year's just gut-wrenching buzzer beater. And our guy, Mr. Ritchie, is dancing, and we give him a little text, hey, Bob, we knew you always had any big guy. Just pump emoji back to us. That's how it plays out. Boom.
Furman as well. And yes, I've called for them to win the tournament like 3 straight years. I really want Furman to get back to the dance. Ritchie getting his first one, and they're the best team. So I hope it's Furman.
Yeah, they beat Samford at home in overtime. Really, really gritty comeback back on January 25th. Since then, they've won by 12, 21, 13, 31, 24, 34, excuse me. Like they are rolling right now. It seems like they've really figured it out. So yeah, I would agree with you guys. I'm rolling Furman there. The Missouri Valley, Matt, you mentioned you think Drake or Bradley can win a game in the tournament. They are tied at 12-4 atop the league. 3 other teams have 5 losses lurking right behind them. And again, season's final day, it could come down to Drake is at Bradley, could be the decider. Kai, your pick to win the Valley.
I think it's going to be Drake. That was my pick in the preseason, so I'll stick with it. They've been rolling lately as well. And then, real quick on Furman, 6 straight years, Bob Ritchie, top 100 team in Furman. Come on.
As what Furman,
ludicrous.
6 straight years. Okay, Drake. I'll take Drake, Matthew.
Drake, for sure, Jim. This is the Drake that we saw that non-conference run 2 years ago. I'm starting to see it come. And now they have like a pro guy with DeVries on top of that nucleus that's basically all still there. Most of which are still there. Penn's healthy. Love Drake. All Drake. Bradley's really good though. It might be Bradley.
They are good. Mm-hmm.
Kai, you think they might lose to Northern Iowa tonight, right? And they have to go to Bradley at the end. That's the one thing is the fact that it's at Bradley in the finale that makes I'll be the Bradley selector of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
They're currently number 78, number 79 in KenPom, so they could not be closer together at this stage.
Wow.
The Ivy, 2 tied at 9-5. That'd be Princeton and Yale. 2 more at 6-4, 2 more at 5-5. Big time race to get into the postseason tournament. Got Yale playing at Penn and at Princeton this weekend. Princeton also has at Harvard and versus Penn. So these teams are all going to meet down the stretch here. This one's really tough to figure out. Gut instinct, Kai, who are you going with?
I guess Princeton, but I think Penn can still be the best team in this league. But I'll say Princeton wins the regular season.
Matthew?
I think Yale wins the regular season, who, by the way, has been awesome since we counted them out for dead. They've just been like, oh, yeah, we're Yale. We're supposed to win this league. And they've just basically not played within 10 points in the last 2 weeks. I think ultimately Penn wins the tournament, though. And that's what I want to win the tournament. Red and blue. Dance, dance.
Get your guy Dingle in the league. I'm going to go with Yale as well. They do have 3 of their last 4 on the road. Maybe the toughest schedule of the contenders there, but man, yeah, they're trending way up. Their defense and interior play is as good as anybody in that league.
Come on, Cornell. Come on, Earls. Dig.
I'd like to get them in the tournament.
Harvard's in 7th, by the way, guys, in the Ivy. You know that?
It's wild considering some of the recruiting talent they bring in there. Jeez. It's nuts. The MAC, Iona and Rider are tied at 11-3. Siena half game back 11-4. Another one, Iona at Rider. Final day of the season. Kai, does Ricky P get it done in the regular season?
Yep. I can't see Iona losing this conference. So Iona.
I hope so. Matthew?
I'm going to do a reverse jinx here and pick another horse. So my conference future wins -150 Iona. Jim, what price you get on that Iona future?
Somewhere around that. I think I have like some -120, some -150.
Why are we sweating this? I don't understand. I mean, I know Iona's hurt. I get it, but like just the consistency of Ryder has been really annoying. Like I think we've all thought Ryder's gonna be talented for years, and like, oh, now they're finally playing to the talent they have. Very frustrating.
Yeah, they've won a couple games really late. They beat Iona in the one meeting at Iona. And that was part of the Iona swoon where they blew a bunch of leads and lost a couple games. Seems like they've righted the ship as well. That's kind of the theme of this is the preseason favorite has started to play really, really well in a lot of these leagues. So I'm going to ride with them as well.
Iona's almost 100 spots higher in KenPom than Ryder. Pretty crazy.
You know, it's crazy. It's nuts. They're only projected to be a game apart in the final standings at this stage. The Horizon, 2 tied at 12-4. That'd be Youngstown State and Milwaukee. They face off on Thursday. Cleveland State, Northern Kentucky, both right there as well. Matthew, give me a pick in this league.
I go to you. I'm still thinking about this one. I know.
I think my preseason pick was
I'm the Horizon guy. I should know the answer to this question.
My preseason pick was Northern Kentucky, so I'll stick with them. I'll say they'll get it done here. But Youngstown is the best team right now in this league.
Yeah, 4 straight road games to end the year for NKU. So tough schedule. I know Kai is not taking all that into context. Yes. Just giving that for the listeners. Yeah, I think it's Youngstown. They've got a lot of veterans on that team too. So
it's a really good roster. It's a great roster. Yep.
They get Milwaukee at home and then Green Bay at Robert Morris at IUPUI. Like if they beat Milwaukee, then I think they waltz to it.
That's a good point. Okay, YSU regular season, NKU wins the conference tournament again.
Avenge last year's Wright State. Yeah, I like that.
The ASUN, this comes down to Liberty and Kennesaw. They play each other at Kennesaw on Thursday, the only meeting this year. Kai, does the home court of the ASUN overwhelm there, and do the Owls get the regular season title?
No, it's going to be Liberty. They're awesome. They're 100 spots higher than Kennesaw and KenPom as well. I cannot believe they dropped 2 games in this conference. They're that good. I think they get it done.
Stunning. They've blown some teams out massively in that league. Matthew, are you rolling with the Flames too?
No, going Kennesaw.
Wow. Kennesaw.
Is this another reverse jinx for a future? Because I'd be okay with it.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. What I think actually happens is Liberty beats Kennesaw, but then Liberty loses to one of the 2 matchup against Queens in the final 2 games of the regular season.
Interesting. Wow.
So Kennesaw. Actually, no, Kennesaw would have to win 2 more, or they'd have to drop 2 games. Okay. Sorry. That whole narrative can't play out. Disregard.
This is best Liberty team ever right now, by the way, which is nuts.
Yep. And Richie McKay just keeps cranking out best Liberty teams ever.
Yeah.
It's kind of what he does there. Last one, Matt, near and dear to your heart, the Mid-American, the MAC. Kent State and Toledo are 11-2. Akron and Ball State are 10-3. We do not get another meeting of Kent State and Toledo, but they both have to play at Ball State. I believe Kent State hosts Akron on the season's final day. Where are you going in your MAC?
Toledo Rockets since day one. And I love Senderoff too. He was maybe my favorite interview of the offseason. And he was great. I just think Toledo's got it.
Toledo is not coached by Rob Senderoff.
I know, Todd Kowalczyk. I'm saying I was apologizing for not picking the Fighting Kent State Flashes as Rob Senderoff was my boy. Although my Kowalczyk discussion was great too. He loves this team, man. I like the Rocket Chips.
Kent State's the best team in this league by far. They're going to win the regular season and win the conference tournament.
Yeah, they've got the little the edge, having beat Toledo once, and that's the only time they play. So you're going to have to find a way to get Toledo to win that by a full game. We'll see if that happens down the stretch. All right, that's it. Little mid-major spotlight on those races. Wanted to cover that. Let's close it out with some previews over the weekend. Huge one in the Big 12. I'm not sure we ever really envisioned this happening with Baylor tied atop the league after they started the season 0-3 in the Big 12 campaign. Now they're headed to Kansas. Kai, we've had some awesome games over the years between these two. Anything stand out to you with this matchup? What are you looking at?
Gosh, man, at Kansas, I think that's what you got to look at first. It's at Fog. I think that inherently makes me lean towards KU. This will be like a 3-point spread. If it's 4, gosh, kind of lean towards Baylor, the way they're playing defense recently with JTT back in the lineup. Still the worst team analytically on defense in the Big 12, but I think they've improved that a lot, and they're still humming offensively. So if it's over 3, I lean Baylor. Otherwise, Matt, I'm skewing towards the Jayhawks in the home floor.
Yeah, KU at home. I still think Baylor's actually the best team in this conference right now. That's how I in on this Bears team I'm starting to become, but I still think KU wins this game. It's at home.
Yeah, I think there's matchup issues for Baylor here. We've talked about how much they switch with their small guards. That's a problem against Kansas with bigger wings that I think can punish them. Bill Self does a great job of getting those guys downhill. Maybe there's some concern with Kansas perimeter defense against the shot making guards of Baylor, but I think that plays up more at Baylor than it does at Kansas. I'm with you guys. I think I would lean towards KU at Fog Allen. Next up, we got Tennessee at Kentucky. Now, remember, Tennessee is hosting Alabama tonight, so that's got to have a little bit of play into how you handicap this probably. Are they coming off an emotional, huge win where they probably rushed the floor against the number one team in the country, or have they lost 3 in a row and now they're going to Rupp Arena against Kentucky, who's also playing tonight?
Oof.
Matt, you best bet against UK on our show, Field of 68 show earlier today. So we think Kentucky might be coming off a loss. Do they get a big one at Rupp against the Vols?
Yeah, but you got to think Tennessee might be coming off a big win against Alabama at home as well to kind of end this little mini swing that they're in. A ton of moving parts to this one. I got to think Tennessee wins this. Like, I think Tennessee's pretty freaking pissed off they lost at home to Kentucky. So I think they go in. I'm just all the way out on Kentucky right now, especially if Frederick is going to be out for I know he's not a cheat around today. He may be out for tonight, probably out for this next. I'm just going to guess he may be in, his presence might be hanging in the balance of this game. I like Tennessee on the road.
If
Super
they lose,
confident, as you can tell.
If Tennessee loses to Alabama, I love them on the road here. I think they will not lose 4 games in a row, especially if Frederick and Wheeler are on the shelf still. If they beat Alabama, I can see Kentucky winning this game, especially if those guys come back. If they're gone either way, probably in Tennessee. It'll be like a 4-point spread on the road for Tennessee. They're favored.
Yeah, you go back to that first meeting and Tennessee went 3 for 21 from downtown. Kind of got worked on the glass too. I don't envision that happening again. I think they just kind of got punked. They were a little complacent against the UK team that everybody was counting out a little bit. I think you get super locked in Tennessee, even if they beat Alabama. I think there's that, wow, this team beat us on our home floor and they're reeling now. I'm definitely going to be liking the Vols in that one. Last up, Matthias, your Hoosiers laying 3 at home against Illinois. It's another kind of revenge type situation after Indiana punked the Illini in Champaign, and Indiana has been rolling. They've got a big one tonight at Northwestern. So again, some of the handicapping is difficult because we don't know the spot really, but even just Matt, purely from a who wins type of situation, don't worry as much about the spread. What do you see in this matchup? What excites you about your Hoosiers?
It's funny. Indiana is back. Like, they've had kind of phases to their year. There was a phase that they're almost back in now where you have Race Thompson out, but you have Jordan Geronimo back, which kind of gives them their roster tilts toward more guard friendly. Saw them play a little bit faster during that, a little more free flowing. They've actually looked really good toward the end of that. I think it's Illinois actually works out well. I think that you need more depth at wing and guard to match up with Illinois' depth at wing and guard. So if that holds, if Race is continuing to be out in this game, if Geronimo kind of steps back to the X factor he was emerging into before he went out again, I like Indiana. They've sort of shape-shifted all year. Illinois has done that too, but more like emotionally, not necessarily roster construction wise. I kind of like Indiana here. I think, again, at home, they get this done. And Kai, we talked about how we thought Illinois would avenge the home embarrassing loss to Penn State. Then they got swept and ransacked by Penn State. You could argue they could drum up that narrative here, but still lose and get swept by Indiana.
I was at this game when Indiana was at Illinois, and it was a beatdown. Indiana destroyed them. TJD had 35 and 9. Like, it was easy to score on Illinois, and I think they can do it again, especially at home. I'm not super impressed by Illinois overall. It's a weird mix of guys, I've decided. And Indiana's been tough. I agree, Matt. They've been pretty fungible to their situation, we'll say. I lean towards them at home at -3-ish.
Yeah, Illinois has been really erratic. And they talked about on our best bets show that they had covered 9 of the last 10 before they got spanked at Penn State. And I think that exposed the defense once again. Kai, you said how easy it was for Indiana to score. Man, it's weird because Illinois has been a pretty good defensive team at times this year, but really got exploited by Penn State, got exploited by this Indiana team at home. Maybe they just they have a couple matchups that don't work out very well for them. And it seems like Indiana might be one of those teams. Didn't get much out of Melendez or Goody with those guys returning. I think at some point they're going to matter. I still think Illinois might be a sneaky, solid postseason team because of the lineup versatility that they have. But right now, it's not altogether there. And a second straight road game this week does not get me excited. So, yeah, definitely liking the Big Ten home court there of the Hoosiers. All right, that wraps it up, boys. Any final thoughts for the watchers, viewers, listeners? Anything?
Nope. Excited for March. Welcome, football fans. XFL is coming up, but don't watch that. Watch college basketball.
Yeah, there you go. Good answer.
Are we even sure this conglomerate of people exist? NFL just like, oh, now we go to college basketball. I like that we kind of just like
it's called the casual sports fan, Matthew.
Okay,
people that don't care about college basketball until March. They exist in droves.
What else are you turning on right now? I think that's it's on. It's going to be on their TVs, so they're going to tune in maybe hesitantly, but we welcome them with open arms. It's basketball time. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you to the chat. Always enjoy the engagement as we go through the show. Thank you to all the listeners as well. We appreciate you. Again, leave reviews if you feel so inclined. If not, that's okay too. We'll get over it. Talk to you again next week, same time, 1:30 Central on Wednesday. That is the tentative plan. Until then, enjoy the hoops.